Call the meeting to order, City of University Heights City Council meeting. Today is March 11th, 2025. We're at the Community Center. Welcome, everyone. First order of business is roll call, and all five council are present, and then approval of minutes. Mike sent around the minutes. Is there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
Okay, I'm starting my meeting.
Okay, public input. We have any members of the public here on Zoom? No. And no members in the audience? Okay. We'll go on to administration and mayor's report. And we'll go straight to the annual CVB, the Convention Visitors Bureau update. And Josh Schomburger's here with Nick Pfeiffer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
And you have a presentation of the annual report, right? Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I have a printed copy of it, so you can read it
Oh,
at your leisure.
nice.
Appreciate the opportunity to visit with you all and give a little bit of a recap of our year. And mention a couple other things that we've been working on with University Heights over the past year, really, particularly with Nick and Tim. So I don't know if we can get to that as a full slide.
But I can always keep advancing stuff for you, Josh, as you go.
Okay, I
That's
just
okay.
don't know that you're gonna be able to see all this stuff. Like the,
How about if I go like that? That gonna be okay?
whatever you think, Mike. We'll
There
just
we go.
play it by ear.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, we'll just run through, a report. I thought, obviously, it's important. There you go. That works a little bit better. It's important to give you all a little bit of a recap. Obviously, you all know that when you passed a hotel motel tax referendum in this community, part of that investment goes back into our organization and is matched by Iowa City Corva and North Liberty, which enables us to do what we do, which is maintain and grow the hotel motel tax revenue for the various cities, but also bring in significant economic impact and visitor impact to the community. So this is just a cover slide, but it's pretty recent. This was the Girls State Wrestling Tournament, probably the biggest event we've ever hosted in that building. And Mike, I know, was there many times because he helps with West High Girls Wrestling. But it's just one of many, many events which we'll reference that we bring visitors to town. And this one I particularly put on this slide because Kelly Murphy, who's probably what the best DOS in the markets, I probably shouldn't say that, cleans up on these teams. So a lot of these teams stay here in University Heights and Courtyard because of Kelly's good work with all of the schools. So you want to go to the next slide, Mike? Oh,
Sorry.
go fast. So just a reminder of the history of the CVB. So our mission is to advance the economic vitality and quality of life for residents and visitors as Iowa's premier destination for this entire community, not just city. We were incubated in 1979 by the Chamber of Commerce. Most CVBs were. And then once a hotel motel tax referendum passed, we kind of grew up and became an adult and moved out on our own. So that's how they happen all over the country, and of which there are thousands and thousands of CVBs who are working to grow the visitor tax base and create economic impact. So hotel motel tax was increased at the state level in 1993 to 7%, where it remains today. And that's the maximum cap you can apply. And obviously that's the rate it's set for here and all of the surrounding jurisdictions. One other important note for our structure was in 2016, we officially organized a sports commission, and we registered that as a private standalone C3 in 2018. And so a lot of the events we get into, particularly that opening slide, are because of our investment and work into a sports commission. Total operating budget for our entire organization is this past year was 2.3 million. 46% of that is hotel motel tax revenue from the 4 jurisdictions at 25%. And then the rest is from either partnership and corporate partnership or program revenue that we create on our own from some of the events that we produce, like Soldier Salute, other activities, which we'll mention. Go ahead, Mike. Please, thank
See
you.
if I can do it without going too.
This is just a grid. That's all right. This is just a grid on hotel motel tax revenue over the last 10 years. There was a little dip in Coralville last year, but the overall revenue was up for the cities. And when I mentioned that to Coralville just last month, I mentioned that it was because your money is going to University Heights now. And as you can see, that's where the increase happened, and that courtyard is obviously an incredibly good flag, and it's compounded by Kelly being as strong as she is, and a lot of that Extreme Arena business. You know, she's very aggressive at those, so that's terrific.
So the yellow is University Heights.
Correct, and green would be North Liberty. So it's interesting when you look at those two hotels, because North Liberty has one hotel and University Heights has one hotel. But it's just completely different flags, types of market, business, even rate. Between a Sleep Inn and Suites and a Courtyard by Marriott. So, next one, Mike. This is our board of directors. Tim obviously is on our board, and we really appreciate that, and does a great job. He's the representative from University Heights. Our current chair is Mitch Gross, who many of you know was on Coralville Council for a long time, but we decided to keep him on board after he left council. He was already in an executive role, but for a while, we really wanted to have a representative from the school district. We do so much with the school districts. We just were awarded last month. We will be the new home for the next 5 years for the Girls State Swimming and Diving Championships, which will start this November. Again, Kelly's gonna clean up because they'll be at the bottom of the hill. But we host 9 state tournaments between boys and girls, which is substantial. And those school district and those relationships are really important. So we do have one ex officio besides myself. Rod Sullivan is our county liaison. The reason he's ex officio is the county doesn't have motel hotels, and so we like to have the county there because we do quite a few things that impact the county, and having a liaison there is important. Kelly is actually recent chair, so okay. This is our team. I know many of you know quite a few of these folks. But we have a pretty strong team. This was at the end of one of our bigger events, Soldier Salute, in the middle of the night, it looks like, in winter, after we cleaned up the space. Next one, Mike. So visitor impact is substantial to Johnson County. These are actually real numbers. It's hard to believe they're real numbers, but every year there's data that's source that the state contracts with to measure the economic impact of tax dollars that are spent within counties from credit cards and other sources of people that don't reside in those counties. So in Johnson County last year, about 684 million was spent on goods and services by people that don't live here. Just about 100 million spent in taxes and 6 million in hotel motel tax revenue. So for every $1 that was received by us through that 25% sort of pass through to our organization to hotel motel tax, we brought a return of 3162 to the Coralville area and larger community. Actually, I should have changed that slide because I just did that one, and I've been changing them all. I already caught some other United on it. And this is just for our sports and conference efforts. If you go to the next slide, Mike. And how do we know that? We know that because every single one of these events that are on here that are in 2-point font, it looks like, we can get this to you if you're interested, or swing by, but every one of these events are coming to this community because of us. And because we know the contracted hotel rates, we know how many people are coming, we know their peak night rooms, their total rooms, their food and beverage expenditures, and all that data that we do know, we take and we add it all together and we divide it by that lodging tax investment that gets passed through. So this one on the left was an event that just happened last weekend, and it was First Tech Challenge, which has exploded in the community with robots and all sorts of fun things. Next one, Mike. So again, our organization, we lead by really bringing people together and across the community that no other entity can. We kind of serve as a hub for local activity of all kinds, promote cooperation and collaboration, really over competition. We like to say when we have our board meetings that you need to remove your city hat and you need to walk in with your community hat, because outside of probably the people in this room, nobody in this town knows where the city of University Heights ends or begins. We're kind of all a community, and so that's the way we have to look at business and opportunities, and we try to do that. So there's 5 markets that we spend all of our time, money, and energy in: individual, group, leisure. So just your typical leisure traveler or group. Conferences and meetings, significant, huge bounce back year this past year. Sports, which is exploding and continues to explode. And then a couple other areas, special events and quality of life. Quality of life we'll get into here soon as I mentioned what some of the things we've been doing here in University Heights this past year. Next one, right? So the 3 buckets, the primary buckets are innovative sales and marketing, authentic placemaking, and intentional community engagement. Those are our 3 areas that we spend a lot of time. Sales and marketing, our bread and butter. It was a bounce back year for conferences and meetings. This past year, we booked, we hosted 56 different conferences and meetings that brought over 80,000 people who spent $22 million in our community. This next year, we have plans to attend 6 trade shows and about 254 individual planner meetings. And we already have on the books about 36 future conferences, just over 47,000 future visitors, and just under 20 million in future direct spending through the 23,000 room nights and the groups that are currently contracted to come at the various hotels. These are just a couple images of some slides we hosted. I believe the top one is the Iowa High School Athletic Directors Association last March. They're back here at the end of this month. And then the bottom one is actually an event. That's the unveiling. Some of you were at when we had it at the courtyard of the big Herkiarm Parade event that was all last year. Next one, Mike. Just a couple other things on sales and marketing. We spend a lot of time in digital marketing engagement. Obviously, that's the way of the world today. We had some good numbers on that front too. And the big thing here is that we're continuing to learn ourselves, and we're kind of maximizing some data analytics and even getting a lot into AI to better target visitor demographics. And we use various subscription software for how we go about determining where we're getting return, and then that fuels where we're spending money on advertising. So we use Placer quite a bit on events software, and STAR is an acronym for Smith Travel Research, and that monitors the daily and actually monthly hotel rates, occupancies, and RevPARs. So we spend a lot of time in that area. Monica Nieves on our team, Hirsch is really strong and leads that division for us. Next one, Mike. So authentic placemaking, again, the second of the third stool of areas that we work. This is on the left is our community grant program. We actually just advertised for this yesterday, right? Yeah. For the coming year. So any organizations that you know out there that want to do events or activities, we allocate $50,000 a year that we spread out across the entirety of the community to help support different festivals and events. And on the left is what we have for this fiscal year. What we started for in July and will end in June. So you can see a number of festivals that you've heard of around the community that receive direct support from us through these events and activities. And then other notable accomplishments, last year was a big year. We spent a lot of time helping the city of North Liberty with their Centennial Park initiative. Nick Pfeiffer, who's here, who heads up our public affairs, spent time. He co-authored the application that secured $900,000 from the CAP program for that park. And we're excited about that. We spent an incredible amount of time over the last many really decade, and then the bottom one, decades, between Riverfront Crossings Parks and Iowa River Landing, still continue to support those various municipal efforts. And then the last one, which I just touched on briefly, and it sounds like we'll be coming back in about May. We've been working very closely with Nick, and we funded about a $20,000 plan with a company called Bolton and Mink to put together some high level opportunities, things for you to consider as it relates to taking advantage of this incredible wood space here in University Heights, and how that can be turned into a really, really great multi-use trail system plan, for the communities, for walking dogs, for going out there in May and hunting for mushrooms or whatever the community would like to do, in addition to some bike trail systems that would tie into the paved trail system there up along Hawkins and Catchback aren't here. So we're super excited to close that out and bring that back to you in, at your May meeting. So look forward to that. Next one, Mike. This is a huge, huge initiative that we spent this last year. I was the co-campaign manager chair with Pat Hayden. We led the effort to pass the conservation bond, which is significant for the community. It passed by right around 78%, so it was a lot of work to get it there. We spent a lot of time in town hall meetings in small rural towns in Johnson County to convince them that this is really important. And Nick did an incredible job. He was our kind of behind the scenes quiet campaign manager, and we're super proud of our efforts as it relates to placemaking for the trail systems, the river, all sorts of things. Next one, Mike. The third bucket is intentional community engagement. You know, there's not enough local understanding of what we do or who we are, and that used to be totally fine, because people would ask me like, we could be the deft hand behind a lot of stuff, and quite honestly, because we are hotel motel tax funded and supported, I didn't care that the typical resident knew that, oh, you guys did that, that's cool. It didn't matter, as long as the councils knew that we were the deft hand behind all that cool stuff. That's what mattered. Well, that was really the wrong way to look at it, and I've admitted that as I've gone over the years, because the more and more the community does recognize who we are and what we do, the more and more opportunities have come about. And that's been true in so many areas. Last year, we funded the brand new African folk art festival because they found out who we are. And that became one of the coolest festivals in September. And that will be coming back this year for downtown Iowa City. So we are the co-founders of the All In Vision Plan. We're the champions of the natural environment. Pillar 1, we're the leads. So that's why we did the conservation bond. That's why we spent a lot of time on the river. I'm the chair of that board. Katie Gerlach heads up that organization on behalf of the community. So it's been doing great things. Next one. This was, you know, all about this. I could probably skip this, and everybody in the community knows about Herky Arm Parade. So yeah, there's the pet photo up there in the upper right of the one that was sitting right down the street, one of the two in University Heights. So super proud of it. Glad it's once every 10 years. We ended up making about $95,000, and we wrote checks to the 3 school districts and kind of refunneled that back into the public art programs of Iowa City, CCA, and Solon. Nick's CCA school board member, so he was especially pleased that we helped him out. Next slide. Just a few things on the Sports Commission. Again, our parallel organization, it's a division of Think Iowa City and the organization that we run, but it's a really important one, and it's high profile. People see it all the time. You can kind of go through these relatively quick. So we head up Bike Iowa City. A lot of people don't know that. They hear about it. There was a Monday night gravel ride last night. Anything related to the cycling in this initiative is we're funding it behind the scenes. We independently contract with Liz Hubing to kind of manage that for us, and super proud of it. I mean, obviously we're a very, very popular cycling community, and we're proud of it. And we'll continue to invest into that key part of our local quality of life and infrastructure. Next one, I already mentioned this. We're home to 9 tournaments now. It's raising some eyebrows in Des Moines, I will tell you. There's unfortunately some politics get involved, and wondering why we get so many state tournaments, and maybe they should go to other parts of the state. But at the end of the day, our team just does a phenomenal job, and they deserve every one of these, and that's why they keep coming back, and that's why we're getting more and more. The upper right is the Boys State Swimming and Diving Tournament, which was just last month, and now we're going to be hosting Girls State Swimming and Diving. So good stuff all the way around, and there are hundreds and hundreds of hotel rooms right here that sleep down the hill from these events in particular. Next one. We secure a regional sports authority district every year. This is $70,000 from the state. It has been a really good program. So all the events on the left that you see there are things that because we work hard to secure that grant and compete against other cities, we fund all of these. So they all get a little bit of that money. Everything from Special Olympics to Universal Ballet, Armbuster Open, all of these things are receiving money from the Sports Authority District that our team heads up and secures. Next one. And then these are just some other notable wins that have recently occurred. Our tagline is "We Got Next," and that's our website. You can go and learn more about the Sports Commission there. The photo on the left was just taken a month ago. We have done such a good job as a Sports Commission team. Our staff has done such a good job that they've convinced other conferences, not the Big Ten, but Summit League and Midwest Valley, to come here and have their championship in Iowa City
Oh,
in the
wow.
Hawkeye Pool. So that
That
was the
is
Summit
cool.
League. That was the University of Denver. They were here for 6 days and they cleaned up on every other team in the conference. So that was, I think, it looks like the girls, women and men. But you can see the bullets there. The one that's not showing up on the bottom is one that we have an asterisk by, and it's pretty close, is we're actually
The
entertaining.
very
right-
bottom.
We're actually entertaining right now. It's okay, Mike. I can say what it is. We're close to finalizing a deal that next year it's the United States turn to host the Pan American Games for the sport of wrestling. And so we'll likely host that in May. And we'll have all the countries in South and North America coming up
That's cool.
to wrestle here in Wrestletown, USA. So we'll go to I'll go down to Monterrey, Mexico which is right across the border from Texas, I'm told, and that's who's hosting it this year, to get all of the teams and all the information out. And then I think after us, it goes to Canada. So we'll get that sorted out. Next one. These are just some other areas that we get spend a lot of time and energy in, air, rail, and trail. A lot of time helping to support the airport. It's absolutely critical to what we do, all the business we have flying in. We head up the Iowa Great Places Initiative. We secure that designation that kind of keeps an eye on that. We're funding I-Corps. We have a new event we're going to probably do in June. It'll be a fundraiser for I-Corps and all the trail systems, off-road. An organization that we would quite honestly partner with, if you all think it's a good idea to do some stuff in the woods back over here. So happy to answer any questions about that, and I went as fast as I can. I think that's it, Mike. Yeah, so there you go. There's just a couple other groups. One on the left is a really interesting one. Next year, we will host the Catholic Daughters of America National Convention. It will be almost 5,000 room nights in 2026. And there's a lot of those type of groups. There's an association for everything. You have the Catholic Daughters up in the upper left, and the bottom right, you have Anime Iowa. So there's truly an organization for everything, and we touch them all. So I'm happy to answer any questions about the role, the organization that we play. Certainly appreciate the fact that Greg and everybody decided to put a hotel in University Heights, and we're happy to be part of that investment and making sure that fund continues to grow, the Hotel Motel Tax Fund in that particular city, because we're the one organization that's responsible and should be held accountable for making sure that is sustained and grows. So, as I know, it's very beneficial to you all with the other 75% of that fund, so.
Could you just review, because I've been to these before where you talk about it, some of the really neat, it's in really tiny print on your board here,
Yeah,
but some of the events that are coming, you know what I mean? You've done that where you highlight some of them. It's amazing, some of the organizations. I mean, you highlighted a little, but
yeah. Well, one of the ones that was really interesting that we just hosted this past year was, there are some odd ones, Mayor. It's called the National Taxidermy and Fish Carving Championships.
awesome.
And it's a world level event. It took over the entire space of the Hyatt, and last year it was in Salzburg, Austria.
Oh my
And
gosh.
we had a connection somehow, and they wanted to somehow bring it to Iowa in the middle of the country, and we secured it. And we beat out a bunch of other cities, and it was incredible. I mean, I'm not one, quite honestly, that's interested in seeing a lot of dead animals.
Yeah.
But this is like, it's like art, and they told me, whether it's true or not, that these are all when animals get sick at zoos, I'm like, okay, if that's the case and they die painfully,
Okay.
or peacefully, then but anyway, there's everything from that to, we just, as I mentioned, swimming and diving. Next year, we will host the Midwest Valley Conference Women's Basketball Championships. So we secured that. So you and I and Drake and that entire conference will have the women's basketball
Oh.
championships here. Which will bring quite a few teams and a lot of exposure. And we just hosted the National Collegiate Women's Wrestling Championships just a few days ago. We finished off Saturday night. Iowa won their second title there, and we received an email first thing Monday morning from the NCAA asking whether or not we would be.
You had a cat thing or you?
We've had cat fanciers of.
Cat fanciers, yeah.
That one is a motorcycle. We had the Motorcycle Defenders Rally.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah, you should.
The
come
rodeo,
over
we
and-
just had the rodeo too, right?
The rodeo, that one is not really us. That's kind of an arena event.
Oh,
We don't have anything to do with the arena
I
other
see.
than when the space is available. We like to fill it up with stuff we know we can bring to town.
I see.
Josh was about to say that the NCAA wants to host other championships.
Yeah, I showed a confidential email to Tim.
I'm supposed to say that?
No, you're good. They sent an email and said that they want us to bid on some other things too, because of the experience they had this past weekend. And next year, Mike knows this because he's a wrestling guy, but next year is the first year that the NCAA takes over and we'll have the inaugural NCAA championships for women's wrestling. It's currently been a makeshift, let's figure it out, have a championship. Now it's officially NCAA, and it looks like our community will be the inaugural host if we want it.
Yeah, very exciting. And we'll be excited to hear about the Trails project that you've
Yeah.
been working on with Nick in May.
In May, and also we've spent a lot of time with Nick, Nick, you want to just have an overview of the other effort we're working on?
Yeah, so we also put in some time and effort on that, thanks to a lot of you for going out and canvassing the community with the survey. Just to draw out some placemaking places and activities that could be possible, that can really engage and enthuse your residents. And then we sat here and had a focus group work session with a lot of volunteers that kind of mapped out the next steps of what that could be, and I think it really, we left it in your hands, but talking about some bench projects in kind of the corner parks that or triangle parks that you have, and then start working towards something to go with the just bicentennial, no, centennial. 90th. Well, we're close. 90th anniversary of the city coming up here later this year. So, yeah, we engaged with Jennifer Horn Frazier, who's a local planner, strategic planner, to really take that off, and that was really good. And then I should mention, hopefully, just about all of you should have received an email from me either yesterday or today with a survey and some information. We're going to be going through some strategic planning here for our next 5-year plan. And so all city council members are part of that in some sort of fashion. And then there's some other focus groups and stuff that we're going with that too. So please get your input in there. We really need it and want it. So, thank you.
Tim, anything we missed? Board member?
Any other questions for
No
Josh?
questions, but just big thank you from me. I'm really excited for May and to be able to share a little bit more on both the trails and the visioning project.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be exciting to see more.
Yeah, for sure, Nick. All right.
Hey,
Awesome.
Mayor, oh, sorry.
Sure.
I might add, yeah, hey, so I'm sitting here on Kauai, and when I was traveling out on Sunday, I ran into the contingent from Adams State returning from the NCAA Women's Wrestling National Championship that Josh just spoke of, and And of course, I always travel in Hawkeye gear. So I struck up a conversation with one of their coaches, and it's just one of those fly on the wall things. This guy couldn't say enough great things about, and he didn't call out the Convention and Visitors Bureau by name, but everything he said related to all of those efforts and how wonderful the venue was and the area and the community, and just a great, great compliment to everybody with that event. And it was just a fun conversation to have in the Denver airport. So thought I'd mention that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Steve. Any other comments? Thanks, guys. We'll see you in May.
Yep, we'll be back in May.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You too. So that's we're going to put that agenda item of the update on trails to May meeting. And then we'll go to legal report. Steve, you didn't have anything you said, did you on?
No, I don't.
Okay, any questions for Steve? Okay, we'll go to city administrative report. You sent a written report.
Yes, the only thing I'd add is I will be gone next week. I'll be out of country. Chris obviously is still off recovering, but Mike will be around.
Okay. Any questions for Troy? I just want to say, Troy, you have taken my workload and cut it way down.
Good.
Thank you so much. You do excellent work. I'm so pleased, and I'm so pleased with what you've done and representing the city so well. And you just gave a talk today.
Updated the Greater Iowa City Inc. and the Iowa City Builders Association held a joint event rather than holding two separate events like they have in the past as far as our projects. So mostly the Swisher track and our visioning of that. What is going to happen in 2026 on the Melrose improvement project. We also have applied for a grant, a reforestation grant. I'm not sure if that will go through to put some trees along Sunset and over here by the East Ravine. But anyway, just yes, updated them, got to connect with Cammie, and I are going to meet sometime after I get back. But it was good. It was good. We got a chance to present, like I said, update. As Josh pointed out, even the builders and the other people in Iowa City think of us as Iowa City. So it was nice to point out that we are our own entity and we have our own projects and ambitions.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll go down to the clerk report, and you sent out the report.
I don't have anything to add to that, other than coming up will be liquor license renewal season. So in the following months, we'll have a bunch of those coming through.
Okay.
For our 4 entities, so they all kind of hit one after the other.
Okay, any questions for Mike? Okay, we'll go on to the city treasurer, John. You sent around the warrants in the report.
I did. I just want to add a little trash talk. I got a invoice from Johnson County Refuse to add to the list of.
I get the trash talk now. Oh, my.
All right, $306.56, the normal monthly amount that came in the mail today.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only item to append to the list of warrants.
Are there any other additions to the warrants? Okay, is there any objection to paying the warrants? Hearing none, the warrants will be paid by unanimous consent. Any questions for John? You have something else to add, John?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
And we'll go down to the budget discussion, finance. And so, Nick, would you like Steve and John to start on this?
Yes.
Okay,
I will. Okay, before we go through the details of the budget, just 2 reminders on dates here. Friday, March 14th will be the newspaper publication of the notice of public hearing for the proposed property tax levy rate, and that public hearing is scheduled April 1st.
yeah.
And
Public hearing.
also in Lisa's report, she's made note that will also be on the city's website on Friday too. And April 1st will be the public hearing on the proposed tax levy. And then we will have another special 5-minute special meeting to set the date for the adoption of the full budget, and that will be held on April 22nd. So we're getting closer to the finish line here on this, so.
Thank you.
Okay, on the budget worksheet, I'm not gonna dwell on everything, but I'm gonna try to cover some of the more important things that are affecting us. We'll just start off on property taxes here. That total is down by about $130,000. Keep in mind that the reason for that is we have to use half of the local option sales tax money to replace property tax. So we covered that last month on the tax levy rate. It's about $1.40 less per taxable thousand. So the property taxes are down. Other city taxes, first one is hotel motel tax. We're gonna budget $440,000 again. That's somewhere in the ballpark. Local option sales tax, as we previously discussed, $375,000. That's based on the amount of local option tax that's being allocated during the current year. And we know actually now we're getting 12.75% of it. So 375 is based on the same amount at that rate. So let's see. TIF financing, that was prepared back in November. Steve Ballard took care of all the filings for that. Licenses and permits, not a whole lot of change. We just pretty much use estimated amounts, same for interest income on use of money. Intergovernmental revenues, road use tax, that is based on Iowa DOT estimate of $134 per person capita. Commercial property tax replacement, that's just a state backfill. It's a result of converting commercial property to residential property rates. Charge for services. We don't include the contracted police for that because that's basically at break even. So we account for that on the amended budget when we get closer to the end of the year and know what we've done for the year. So special assessments, all that number is that's the amount that's required to fund 2016 bond, that portion of that bond for interest, principal, and fees. And miscellaneous revenues, obviously there's no speed camera, so we can't compare current year, and we will have to amend that this coming May to take that money out of the current year budget. Otherwise, that's about the same. Okay, bond financing proceeds at the bottom of the page, a little bit less than $1.5 million. That is based on the first category in the expenses, which is capital projects. The list of capital projects that total that 1.48 million. That was from Ryan's worksheet, spreadsheet, and that also is in the report today. So that's just a listing of the planned capital projects. The biggest one by far, though, is starting on the Melrose project. Public safety, going down to the police, budget's up, we're back full staffing and everything now. Benefits and costs, that's just in line with the increase in the pay. And then also, we have more officers on health insurance coverage too, and then also the portion of the family, so. The rest of the police expenses on the next, all the way through the middle of page 5, these are pretty much just standard operating expenses for the police department. Vehicle gas, ammunition, various dues, things like that, and the annual rental for the cars. On page 5, animal shelter, that was a given amount, be $204.67 a month. Fire department, this is information received from the city of Iowa City. Hazmat, that's just standard each year. It's now at a rate of 75 cents per capita. And building inspections, a little bit of a change there. Terry has gone on to be independent contractor instead of city employee, so otherwise total cost is about the same, just the nature of that was a little bit different. Okay, culture and recreation. We have the library, Iowa City and Coralville. And let's see, going down to the hotel motel tax, one half of that, 440,000, which is 220,000, has to be spent on direct tourism or visitor expenses. Obviously, the CVB membership is paid by that. The other 110,000 left over is still discretionary for what we can use it for. Currently, we have some money that's accumulated over the years that could be used to assist with the Big Melrose project, because that's an arterial street. So we'll make a decision on that when we get to that bridge. And then same provision with the other half of the hotel motel tax. We are actually funding a lot of the street bonds, and then we have a 5% slice out of the whole tax amount that's discretionary, and we're using that right now to fund Troy's salary and benefits. Top page 6 here, community center. First number 8,000, that's just based on the current CAM fee. 2,000, we just have a set aside for 2,000 for potential repairs, and then park expenses. Community and economic development, the majority of this is to pay out 95% of the TIF receipts to the project developer. Public works, most of these costs, once again, those are from Ryan's sheet. It's included. We have some contingent amounts, arterial panel replacements, 33,000, and local panel replacements, 22,000. They're just kind of contingencies if those happen, to be necessary. I think the last few years, we haven't really spent a whole lot out of that. Likewise, towards the end of that, snow removal, where we're gonna go, I don't know. We may end up under budget this year and maybe even next year too. That would be a great help. Transit, Iowa City bus service is increasing that by 10%, and then we have a $1,000 allowance for seats. Sanitation, basically no change, and then leave back, we have a contract for 23,400. Going on to page 7, general government. Right in the middle of the page, city administration, that also now includes Troy's salary. Most of the rest of those expenses in city administration are pretty much the same thing, basic overhead costs of the city, legal fees and so forth. One thing that I overlooked, and we need to add an amount to it, and that's on the election expense. We have an general election coming up this November, so we'll look at those records and put something in. It it hasn't been a whole lot, couple thousand or
Mhm.
give or take, so that's not gonna have a major effect there. Let's see, most of the rest of that is just, other. City hall operating costs. And then at the very end, debt service. This is just a breakdown of the, bond principal and interest and fees. This year, the portion that was, there's a couple of boxes there. They have the light brown shading off to the right side. Those amounts had previously been paid with the, property tax levy. They're being replaced with the, or those are the, well, they don't have the boxes shaded. Local option sales tax, those that say LOSST, those are the payments that were tax levy that are being replaced with lost money. Otherwise, we have special assessments and hotel motel tax to fund the rest of the disbursements. Bottom line, we're looking at a deficit of about 110,000. Keep in mind, the largest part of that deficit is the road use tax, but we have a lot of those contingencies in there. If it should happen that we do have to pay for extra street panels and things like that, we could use some of the hotel motel tax money to assist on that. When we first started on that, we did allocate some amounts out to assist, but then we found out like snow removal and the panel replacements, we weren't spending it, so we didn't have to allocate. And we may have to, we'll just see where that takes us. The general fund has a deficit probably somewhere in about the range of $40,000. Also keep in mind that we go conservative on the revenues, probably a little bit low. And a lot of the expenses are based on, what if at maximum, so that's probably a worst case scenario. Probably if we look at a normal year, we may have a small deficit, but it shouldn't be anything near 40,000 it's on the budget, so. Even though we've had some changes, the whole nature of things really doesn't change altogether, so. I think that's about all I had. John, anything else?
No, thank you for catching the election stuff, Steve, that's.
Yeah, John and I have been working at it a lot and getting him trained on doing the online budget file and everything. That's the next one, because we'll have to have that completed when we do the approval of the budget in April then, so. That's all I have.
Any questions? I know we're gonna talk more about streets under Brian's report too. And also, we got an email from Maggie Berger, because we're gonna be doing some bonding, We have to get prepared for the 26 projects, those kind of things. Do you want to say anything about that?
The way Maggie was talking, we'll probably sell some bonds sometime this summer. Just kind of depending on how the calendar progresses and so forth. Some costs we can bond for after they've been incurred. I think Ryan might explain that, or I believe it was in Maggie's, one of Maggie's messages there. I think like for engineering fees, anything that doesn't involve groundbreaking, we can bond after they've been incurred, but like for the actual construction, we have to bond prior to starting that. So that'll be the key part of all of it.
Yeah, and we have to spend that money within a certain amount of time. What was it, like 24 to 36?
24 to 36 months is the general guideline, because it's.
That's why the timing's important too with this.
Right, yeah,
Mhm.
so. We'll be touching base on that. Just
Yeah.
then.
Well. So, any more discussion? Okay. We'll go on, and thanks for the dates too. I wrote down the dates. I keep having to write them down. Okay, and then we'll go to, Nick, did you want to talk about anything here? Add anything?
I don't think so. I have attended a couple ECI COGS meetings over the last month and a half, and I see some potential opportunities for University Heights to maybe get some assistance in a variety of ways from them, so we'll see how that develops. I might reach out to some of you about things, funding that might be in your area. So, see what we can
Great.
find out. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good opportunity. Thank you. You know, the last thing they helped us with, as council might remember, is when we had them come and talk about the money we got, the COVID money that we got, and they helped set up that program. We've had them help us in, goals and things like that, and Nick has graciously said that he'd attend those meetings, so thank you for doing that, Nick. Appreciate it. And any questions for Nick? Okay, we'll go on to community protection, and I know the chief is on Zoom and sent around a report. Shall we start with chief? Are you
Can you
awake?
hear me?
Yeah,
Of course
Pretty
I'm
good.
sitting, I'm sitting here looking out Steve's back glass there and very envious of him.
yeah.
I have nothing to add to the report. Does anybody have any questions?
Are you getting along okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I have an exceptional caretaker. Robin is very good at making sure that I do as I'm instructed, and she's a rule follower, so I have to be as well.
Okay, very good. I love the picture you added with Rafiq, the picture of him reading. That was very nice. That was very nice. to see that.
Yes, both he and Daryl went down. Sergeant Tucker went down.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, nobody took a picture of Sergeant Tucker, and I was unavailable to meet him down there. So both of them had just a great time interacting with the small humans.
Any questions for Chief? Get well soon.
Thank you, I will.
Appreciate you attending.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So Stephanie, do you have something to add? Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We'll go on to engineers report, streets and sidewalks. Doug, is it okay if Ryan goes first?
Sure.
Okay. Well, you sent around your report.
I did, yeah. So I'll probably touch on just a couple things, make sure everybody, in case you didn't also read this, just some high level things. So in February, MPOJC issues a request for grant applications. So I know Troy mentioned it in his report as well, but we did put together and submit a grant application for the carbon reduction program grant. There's a couple reasons why we chose that one. It's kind of a newer one this year. STVG funds are more broadly available, and we were aware that there is several other larger projects that were going to be applying for that one. So we took a stab at this one, and it's for these applications, you just don't really know who's submitting what for which one, and it's kind of a guessing game on where all the funds will be divided from. But we utilize our updated cost opinions for our Melrose Complete Streets project, and basically requested for additional funding for that project. So hopefully with the increased costs that we're seeing in these estimates, since the original funding was granted for Melrose Complete Streets, we'll get some additional funding, but those meetings have yet to happen, I believe, right?
There was a preliminary meeting by the scoring committee, and yeah, they're being passed on a TTAC, I think is the next meeting, which is the 25th, I believe.
Yeah, I don't have it right.
Yeah, I believe that.
I know in the urbanized area is April 3rd, and the other one's like one's on Tuesday, and one's on the following Wednesday.
Ryan's presentation or Ryan's proposal was, as far as preliminary scoring, very well received, so. Probably the highest one that we score.
So we'll hopefully have some good news in the next month or two. I'm not sure exactly when they finalize that, but. And then for budget items, I did attach sort of our CIP plan. It was really mostly just a bump up from last year's items with updated numbers for a few projects here that we have planned upcoming. One item that changed is that I did add a line for Melrose Avenue Complete Streets driveway relocations. So in our discussions for the Melrose Complete Streets projects, we've talked about some driveways that we want to take off of Melrose Avenue and reconstruct off of the other local streets. The intent is that that would be done ahead of the Melrose Complete Streets project, so those people have those accesses right away during construction. So I've added that as a separate project line item here, and that's kind of the $100,000 difference between what I noted here on my report of, the total combined estimated cost for the Melrose Complete Streets projects are $3.445 million compared to the $3.3545 that we submitted on that grant application. So that $100,000 for those driveways is not included in that grant application. So, any questions on the Melrose Complete Streets items, I guess? That's kind of obviously our big ticket item, and there's the budget breaks it out into several line items, but just wanted everybody to not lose sight that once we collapse all these things together, it's right now we're looking at almost like $3.5 million right now. So for our estimated costs. So, one other thing, I think I'd had some discussion with some council members on the scope of the Melrose Complete Streets projects was to underground overhead utilities from the bridge where the railroad tracks are at to George Street. That was the original scope in 2017 and what was proposed in that STBG funding application originally by Josiah. And there was a question on what would the cost be if we went all the way up to Sunset. So underneath the potential future alternate projects, I do have a line here for Melrose Avenue underground utilities and decorative lighting from Sunset to George Street. And so it's the only line there that I actually have a price, a number assigned to, but that's at $525,000. So about half of that is for right away and property acquisition, and then half of it is to pay for the overhead, and the overhead electric undergrounding costs. And then the other half would be electrical circuits, the lighting, and all those components that would actually go in. So the actual construction costs of extending the light fixtures up the block. So probably about $250-ish each on those pieces. So. Okay, so standard budget items, I just wanted to draw attention, sidewalk maintenance, inspection repair program administration is something that I added. I did talk to Doug earlier today, and I did a lot more digging this afternoon to try to really pin down some comparisons in the costs. I know council has asked for maybe what we would expect for costs to continue the program, the city's cost to continue the program the way it was done before, or potentially if the city was just to pay for the construction of those. The more I dug, the more difficult it was to come up with a real clear answer on that. The issue is that it always is going to depend on how many panels are marked up. And so I got into the data, and I think the $12,000 that I have allocated would be what the cost would be to the city for administration costs if it was done the same as it was previously. So the average costs were about $12,000. the average recovery for property owners that participated in the project, the city sponsored project, which was $100 fee per property. That was included in that sidewalk repair project. Around the average recovery was about 3,000, so the total city cost ends up being about 9,000, and so just did some inflation from, because those numbers are from 2014 to 2017, so that's how I'm getting the 12,000 there. The last year, so there were the number of properties that got marked up. The first year was 58, the second year was 34, then 16, then 16, and then 76. And so I did have some discussion with Josiah to try to pin down maybe why that was. I think it was potentially an ease into this kind of thing initially, and then start to really reinforce the overall, some of the hazards or criteria that weren't necessarily maybe deemed as severe, right, in the first year. And so that jump has me concerned to say that like the cost of the city would be minimal extra if the city were to pay for all the repairs. So in our inspection last fall, we did discuss that there was about 26 properties. I was utilizing a 1-inch threshold, which is higher than what our standard was previously, was 3/4 of an inch. Mostly I was just trying to focus on really quickly identifying which spots might be the most hazardous, right? The most severe. So when I did send Emily out, she had like a list of 80 properties that were close to an inch. And then, we narrowed that down to the 26 or 30 that were at least an inch. And that's not how many panels, that's how many properties there are. So we could, we'd have to do a more thorough review and come up with numbers on those, but that's a broad overview of the sidewalk thing. Does anybody have any questions on that? I just wanted to give some initial or any follow-up information that we want next month. In order to institute, and I'll let Steve confirm, in order to institute the program, we have to pass a resolution. So it's not like I can start marking up panels and sending out letters this month or anything. So it's something maybe everybody wants to think on still. But right now I have that line item under standard budget costs. And I think that one way or another, we can allocate that money then if we decide to proceed with that program then, right, Steve? And then we added a utility maintenance, storm sewer televising and cleaning. We did a couple of things this winter, and I had a meeting with the DNR in January, and they part of the requirements of the MS4 is to make sure they're doing some televising and cleaning every year. Really, they want it to be done to significant portions of the system every year, so we will likely have to write a hardship letter to just let them know, like, we're going to do what we can, or the most severe spots, but at this point in time, I'm not going to plan to televise the whole city every season or every couple of years, every 5 years. So
when you do, will you share this footage with the council?
do you want the footage? I can send it to you. Yeah.
Glad we're doing that.
Bunch of raccoons.
Okay.
And speaking of MS4, we did submit the permit or the annual report to the Iowa DNR. And we televised the RCP pipe that goes underneath the dirt path off of North Sunset there. I can give Mike the video, but I have the flash drive still. So there are some gaps in some of the joints. There's some, I guess what I would just classify as some damaged joints. The pipe is clean. It might take on some dirt, but there's nothing above it that's, there's no structure or anything above it. So
No erosion issues then?
not that I'm aware of, yeah. So The biggest concern with that one is that the properties on the northeast corner of Grand and North Sunset, the backyards drain into that spot, and then that path acts as a berm, and so this pipe, whoever installed it, I don't really know exactly. It's the only way that water can get through to the ravine to the north, so. So if it were to fail, then there would likely be a backup for that, for residents there, so. It's just south of that pathway. So that's why it would probably be something we'd want to look at. If we're doing some work in the area.
And its diameter such, I mean, would we need to replace the whole pipe?
I think the damage is something that it's not probably going to be
Yeah.
fixable.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think it's going to work if it, I was hoping that we could maybe blow a liner in it and kind of reseal the outside, but I'm not really sure if that would work, so.
If there were other trails in the area, was that something that could just be done differently, like the dirt work? Or that just kind of is how it needs to be?
I'm sorry, if there are other. trails
Well,
in the
so you're
area.
talking about the walking trail, right?
The path, yeah,
The what?
there's the path that goes from Prospect, right, to
Right.
North Sunset. Mhm.
So if people didn't need to walk right there, I mean, could the dirt work be done differently just to avoid meeting? I assume you could
Oh.
just do the dirt work differently to avoid meeting. The pipe.
We'd have to look at it. I guess off the top of my head, I can't really think of how much grade change there is there, kind of from the backyard.
Seems like it's kind of low.
I think it's 304, is that right? It's North
I'm not sure,
Sunset.
but it appears that the grade was raised at some point, probably when they platted the roads out,
Yeah.
so that's what's
Right.
causing it, because it's a ravine.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's probably an interesting idea or question, right? Can we just regrade it and avoid needing a pipe at all? Or at least get it graded down low enough that if the pipe were to clog,
Be in
it
their
would-
face.
it would flow, right, as an emergency, right? So. Yeah. There's I remember when I had done the inspections of that system a few years back, there's a lot of down trees in that area. The outlet pipe from Prospect is kind of hanging, up from the side of the hill. It's probably not a huge concern considering the other items we want to accomplish, but it's an area that could be cleaned up for sure.
Yeah.
So, I would say if there's gonna be work done to the Swisher tract area for trails and stuff, it would probably be worthwhile to review cleaning that section up and maybe addressing some of that,
Sure.
those drainage and erosion things. So.
Any other questions? I do want to say, I think we discussed a little bit about contacting Russ Boyer about, the weather's seems to be improving.
Yeah,
And
right.
I think you were gonna contact him about starting some
Some
potholes
pothole
and
fixing, yeah,
repairs that he could do around the city.
right. Yeah, and I will plan to probably at the next meeting have, we'll probably have some public hearing. I'll have these plans done for Highland and Ridgeview for sure, so. We'll start taking bids on that one.
Thanks. I kind of think it's important you go through your report like that because there's so many things in it. So
Yeah.
appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, no problem. And I guess that pipe cleaning was on the warrants list, so it was, or the pipe televising. It was $611 and it was on the warrants list, but that's still sitting there. Always like to mention the money, the payments, I guess, right? So.
Now, do
There's
you have
any
anything to add?
questions?
No, we got together today and he covered it from the story.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Any other questions at all? Okay, thank you. Thanks very much. Okay, we'll go down to building, zoning and sanitation. And Tim, did you have anything to add? They kind of covered your CVV
Yeah, oh,
for
yeah.
you right there.
No.
Oh, and yeah, very good. and, e-government, and Lisa, you sent around your report. And, yeah, you're gonna put that up a little bit. Yeah. Cause Lisa and I discussed leaf vacuuming plan for Monday, April 7th. That's a week ahead. But yet a couple weeks after spring break, so hopefully people can get everything down. And of course, they're flexible. Quality Care is flexible if we have to change it, and we need to send this to the police. I always like them to have this information so that when they're out outside with the public more when the weather's nice, you know, and then they can remind people about it and what they have to do. Because this is 2 days before, it starts 2 days before our next meeting on April, or a day before April 8th meeting. And so.
I'll make sure Chris gets that information.
Yeah, so would you do that?
Yeah.
Thank you. I meant to do that all day. And then I know Troy's working on the bike breakfast this week, and Josh, and getting a date. And we were talking about May 17th, maybe. I
Okay.
think that was the date. No, that was for the cleanup day. I didn't bring my notes with me, but I think we said the Saturday before the 24th. We can't do it May 24th because that's the weekend of Memorial Day. So we're not gonna do it that Saturday. So the cleanup day, I think we said the 17th.
Correct,
Is that right?
yeah. And
And
bike breakfast was maybe the 14th.
maybe the 14th
But
of
that's
May.
the
but-
day after the meeting, so the 21st.
Or the, what's 7 more?
21st.
Yeah, there you go. So. I know we didn't talk all together, but we talked separately that we get a date together coming up on those two things.
The week's May 12th through the 18th, and I don't believe we did it on the actual day last year because we didn't want to compete with other events. We picked a different day during that week, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
They like spreading them
Well-
out throughout the
Right.
month of May anyway.
Right.
so.
So I'll
yeah,
touch
but
base.
you're gonna check with
Sure.
Jeff too, cause you know Jeff's Bike and Ski always joins us, and they make it just really wonderful. And yeah, so thanks, Lisa. Any questions for Lisa there? Thanks for putting that all in your report. And then are you ready for announcements? Any announcements? Now, Mike, you always have an announcement.
I don't.
You don't? Okay. I don't have one either. Is there any objection to adjournment? Hearing none, meeting's adjourned by unanimous consent. Thanks, everyone. We got done pretty early today. Thank you.